often in the studio, I still realize how special it is to make packages of energy and emotion and possible memories for people, the listener, from nothing out of something. Like, we're creators, we are able to bring that to people, and that's just a blessing,
Just so
and
you
all the
know,
rest.
I love that so much, and it's how we should all think about music when we go into the studio. We just recently moved. I don't have my environment created yet that gives me exactly what you just said. When you go into a studio and you're in your like creative zone, I'm at least hoping that my studio gives me that emotion, and that's so important, man.
My dream as well. I'm just in a small apartment in New York, and there's no real studio. It's just a desk with some speakers and a big screen. But I remember being 15 and having no equipment, starting to make music in my bedroom, and my setup was always simple. And mind you, I've had a good outboard studio, and obviously the studio sessions in those writers camps,
Mm-hmm.
that feels like an office environment for me. So you step in, and then it needs to happen because all of it is around, right? And I like my little corner here where I'm like, okay, if I'm feeling it, I'll just step into it, and it's like casual. It's like, oh, it doesn't even look like a studio. It's like, okay, do I feel like making music? Yes. Okay, well, let's go.
Literally, when I talked to the guy that's helping build and design the studio with me and he was asking what I wanted, that's basically exactly what I said. I don't care if the room sounds great. I want it to feel like a creative space. I'm not spending a ton of money on outboard gear. I'm not spending a ton of money on the perfect, sounding room of all time. Cause like, I like, even if I look behind you, like you have dope art up on the walls, and like my point was not you step into like a big, beautiful studio and you get that energy. It's whatever you need to make yourself get into that zone. But I think that exactly what you said is really important for kids to hear. And I'm sure you get it so many times, the kids that are like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't be a music producer. Look at this guy, look at the beautiful studio he's in.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. My youngest son, he just turned 18. He's making beats now, which I think is amazing and something I didn't push at all. He was asking me all of these questions about producing. And at a certain point, he turned around to me. He said, Dad, you're like a real producer, right? I'm like, yeah, bro, I've been doing this before you were born, even. So he texted me the other day, and he needed some things for his studio. He was trying to get some advice from me for like monitor speakers and whatnot.
Yeah.
So he spent a little money, and he had some money left. And the guy, instead of investing in, some UAD plugins, or some actual plugins, because he doesn't have many plugins, he FaceTimed me and he said, Dad, look at this, look what I got from my new studio. And he had these inbuilt LED lights.
Ah.
And I'm like, bro, like, come on, will that help your music sound better? And I told my son, the investing side should be first on, like, get some new plugins and get your sound right and that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
I totally agree. But I will say there is something about being able to, like I was saying before, put yourself into a certain environment when you're making music. So it's ironic. I'm almost kind of doing what your son is doing. I could be spending all of my budget of my studio on sick outboard gear and like, all these things that I've never had. And I'm really taking that money and spending it on like, all of my lights are going to be Philips Hue so that I can control all the colors of all of them. I'm a super visual person. At least I think I have it. I'm pretty sure I do. Synesthesia, where you like see colors when you hear sounds. So I think it would be really important for me to like, if I want to make something that's kind of uplifting, change the colors to, blue and white. If I'm making, crazy dubstep, make things like, a dark green, red, whatever, and like really be able to control the environment around me.
You know what? That's fair. And in that sense, I'm very old school, because when I came up, there were no LEDs that you could control from your phone. Actually, there wasn't even internet when I started my first studio.
But music studios have always had character. You know what I mean? Like you go into like an old school rock and roll or metal studio, and it's fucking maroon dark red walls and black leather everywhere and like goats horns and shit. And then
Studios that I like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Justin Martin's studio is something that I would desire. Kenny Larkin has an amazing studio, but these aren't like LED light studios. These have like, you know, the outboard gear on the wall.
yeah, Justin's is just like a
Martin's
giant room of keyboards, basically, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's more my flavor, but I absolutely see where those lights would come in handy as in terms of atmosphere.
The chat said Steve Aoki's studio is wow. And most people walk into Steve's room or they see it in a picture and they're like, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I love it. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like completely white, like everything.
It's a spaceship, right?
Yeah, it really looks like a spaceship. And that's so me. Like, I want everything bright. Like, that's all energy for me. I want to be in that room and it feels like it's 2 p.m. And then I walk outside and it's 2 a.m. and everything is pitch black. I have friends that would share my studio spaces in LA with me, and I would come in and it would be like pitch black except for like one little like blue light bulb that's on. And I'm like, how do you work in this? I'll fall asleep.
Hey, Soul State here. Quick summary. Everyone's dream studio is different. Jauz wants a visually driven space, whereas Laidback Luke wants a laid-back studio that doesn't feel like an office. So as much as you might not want to admit it, it's not all about plugins and gear. Your environment matters too. Once you have all the basic tools you need, then the question is, what do you want? What will help you make great music? Do you want better gear or do you want a better environment? Comment below what you think, gear or environment.